The Chicago Bears would be absolutely blind to miss these Caleb Williams red flags. Okay, I'm bringing up something here and feel free to disagree, but the knock on Caleb isn't really a physical thing at all. And the Chicago Bears, they should be focusing beyond that when making a decision on QB1's future with the team. A veteran scout just came out insisting he's just not ready for the NFL. And to put it more bluntly, he's saying that Caleb is, and I quote, the most mentally fragile player he's ever evaluated. Hey, you guys, welcome to Sports Talk Bears. I'm your host, Sean, and you all have helped me build a community here so quickly. It's so appreciated, and I'm doing something here. I'm pushing toward the goal of 5,000 subscribers, and I need your help. So if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. It's a huge blessing to me, and frankly, it'd just be pretty cool to hit 5K. So thank you for that. So we could talk about things that are happening at the combine. I'll do that at the end of this. That's great, but let's go deeper than that. Let's go to something no one's talking about. Let's be smart fans and go in a different direction. Shy City Sports, they just did an amazing article on what former Jet scout Daniel Kelly had to say about Williams. I want to give huge props to these guys. Giving credit is incredibly important, and these guys, frankly, they're some of the best out there. So once again, Kelly insists he's just not ready for the NFL. And to put it more bluntly, Kelly is a veteran scout, and he's saying that Caleb is the most, and I quote, mentally fragile player he's ever evaluated. So let's be clear here. I'm not here to assassinate the character of a 22-year-old, right? I'm sure he's a good kid. I shudder at what I was like at the same age. I was kind of an idiot, but this stuff matters. This is a big business move, and mental fortitude, it's absolutely essential here and fully in bounds to talk about. So let's keep that straight. So let's move on. Let's quote Kelly. This time of the year is about teams doing background work and trying to get inside prospects' heads. This is part of the evaluation process. I believe any team considering Caleb Williams needs to think about the high risk from the neck up based on Williams' actions, conduct, and words that he's demonstrated. From painting his fingernails with obscenities aimed at opponents. That's not great. To refusing to shake hands with Utah, refusing to speak to reporters after the UCLA game. I mean, Williams has given NFL owners and decision makers a lot to talk about. And that's from Daniel Kelly. Kelly seems to be doing something here. He's not assassinating his character, but he's speaking to Caleb's emotional maturity and ability to control his temperament as a soon-to-be labeled savior of a franchise, right? This is a really important consideration, and it's fair. He has a comparable teed up here that's very strong here. His mental and emotional maturity might set up a significant struggle adjusting to the NFL spotlight. So I quote here. He's much closer to Johnny Manziel than Patrick Mahomes on the spectrum. I mean, that with respect and sensitivity, but that's what I would say if I was a scout sitting in the pre-draft meetings. I'm going to close this story down. What I find incredible is that more people aren't talking about this. Do we not care about this? We witnessed Caleb Williams having a mental breakdown right before our eyes, crying uncontrollably in his mom's arms. We all saw that. To me, as a former NFL scout, he's the most mentally fragile player I've ever evaluated, quarterback or otherwise. Kelly's doing something here. He's more than suggesting that he needs big-time development in his mental game to match his physical gifts that we know are really, really good. And if this is true, I'm not saying I'm fully convinced here. It feels a bit harsh, but it is wise. Is it wise to move on from a quarterback in Fields that has been an absolutely bulletproof in the areas of maturity and mental toughness throughout his time here? And man, the Chicago media, it's really tough. And also, let's own this. We've been pretty tough on him as well as fans. Let's own that. But the question remains, Fields, he can handle it. Has Williams shown that he can handle it? We have someone here who might not be ready in this area, and to place that weight of stress and expectation on this guy to turn our franchise around and be a guy who will, frankly, one day have a statue outside of Soldier Field. And I'm not being dramatic here. Yes, that's how good he has to be in order for us to justify making this choice. Like, I know this fan base. I know you guys know yourselves for real. That would end up being the expectation, right? For Caleb to be that good, that level good. Patrick Mahomes good, so we can stomach seeing Fields ball out for a team like Atlanta. Sounds terrible, right? This is also a guy who rarely even talks to the media. He is just incredibly private. Is this going to be a big issue when faced with our media in Chicago? We got to look at this. And more from Kelly. The mental pressure and expectations will be unbearable from day one. Training camp will look more like a rock concert. Every practice throw, it'll be followed by the paparazzi, completion percentages and practices. All of it will become just an absolute public spectacle. The expectations are he's Superman, but in reality, he's 22 years old. Statistically and on game film, Williams regressed in 2023. This is not headed in the right direction. I get team fan bases wanting to win and the mainstream media feeding off of that hope. But underneath it all, we have to care about Caleb Williams as a person more than anything. I personally feel for the young man. He's in an impossible situation. I might add, outside of this quote, in Chicago, getting rid of a loved QB for him, it might be so much worse. And let's continue with the quote with Kelly cautioning one more thing. Team owners and front office personnel, they have to consider this high risk. So let's talk this through. Let's be fair here, but also let's be honest. I see red flag after red flag after red flag here. And the not being available to the media after losses feels like pouting, doesn't it? The painting obscenities on his nails for everyone in the country to see without a conscience. I mean, as a pastor, I actually think that's a display of poor character. And it's also poor moral judgment. And I think it's lacking some self-awareness. I just don't like that. That in itself really bothers me personally, but also crying on the sidelines in that way, there being an absence of leadership on his part to turn around the second half team slide last year. That's been well documented. I mean, let's be fair though. That was a historically bad defense. I think they ranked like 117th in the country, really bad, but still, he wasn't shown to be a strong leader through it by most reports. It's been documented. Leaks of him not wanting to go to Chicago. I mean, that has a lot to do with Colin Hurd, like irresponsibly trying to get clicks, but you can't convince me that was fully a fabrication. He's coming into the draft as one of the first true NIL products, rumored to already have made upwards of $10 million. Is that a good thing? Is that what we want? Truthfully, I don't know if that's either good or bad, but if you have a kid who's 22 years old and already kind of struggling with some emotional and mental maturity, coming into the NFL, already making that much money, is that really a good thing? Also, he's the first guy ever to refuse medical evaluation, unlike every single one of his peers. I don't think that's great. I don't think that's humble. I think that's like, I'm above everyone else. I don't have to do it. I mean, I can keep going, but I think you get my point. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't disqualify him from ever being a great quarterback in the NFL. It can happen, but all these things combined, in my eyes, it's a caution. It shows that areas outside of the physical ability, they just might require the perfect touch, a careful touch, more work as a staff to get it right. Do we want to do that? Is it worth it? Does this give us pause when deciding to make him the number one pick? I'm asking the question. Do these things even move the needle? So let's get to the next thing. Why should you listen to what Kelly has to say? So here's an example. Kelly, he knows quarterbacks, and I'm going to go to Kelly's Twitter. Give me a second here. I'm my own producer, so give me a sec. Here we go. On Kelly's Twitter, here's an example. Kelly, he knows quarterbacks. Kelly was one of the only scouts to accurately evaluate a player who established himself as one of the NFL's best quarterbacks. This guy has a trusted and proven eye for talent, and he's not afraid to go against the grain of popular opinion. He will go against popular opinion, and I, for one, I absolutely love that. I respect that. So case in point, he accurately evaluated current 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy before the 2022 NFL draft. And here's the Twitter post, and I'm just going to read it really quickly. So he's showing Brock Purdy as his number 2 quarterback. And I'm going to quote this. Purdy, he showed me more in his game against Texas than quarterback Kenny Pickett, than quarterback Sam Howell, more than what they showed me all season. Purdy is also a dual threat. He threw for 3,188 yards in 2021. That's the 26th most, and averaged 3.2 yards per carry in 365 rushing attempts during his 4-year college career. Excuse me. Purdy has pocket mobility, and he's pretty accurate. He was 71% completion percentage in 21. He was able to fit the ball in through some tight windows. He reminds me of a Rich Gannon. And before you poo-poo the Rich Gannon reference, he was an NFL MVP, and he had some good years. So Kelly had Purdy as the second best quarterback in the draft that year. Once again, the second in the rest of the league. Purdy, he famously was Mr. Irrelevant, picked with the final pick in the draft, and we all know the results, right? 2 consecutive NFC championship games, a 17-point comeback against the Lions. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry, Detroit. My dog's back behind me. Hey, buddy. A Super Bowl appearance. What do you think? Pretty great for the last pick in the draft, right? And guess what? Kelly saw what almost no one else did. And with that track record, if he talks, I'm going to consider what he has to say. Nobody had, besides him, Purdy ranked as the number 2 quarterback in the class. So let's get back to what's happening at the combine, and we'll close up. The focus right now is the fact that he isn't throwing at the combine. And you know what? This doesn't bother me one bit. However, not sharing the medicals with all the teams, just the ones he thinks are worthy, right? It feels kind of manipulative. It feels a little off-putting. So let's go to the example of the NBA. They've encountered this. They're reportedly planning to make it a requirement in the next CBA. And why is that? You see in the NBA, declining to participate in the combine by way of not competing, doing interviews, sharing medical information, that's in recent years been a way for agents to potentially use leverage to steer clients to certain destinations and away from others. It's a business tactic to manipulate the market. So my view, I'm not going to fault them on this. I don't like it, but I'm not going to fully fault them on this, because if the NFL wants players to fully participate, then they need to mandate it. Otherwise, prepare for this to happen routinely moving forward. And also, if you knock him for not working out this week, then you got to do the same for like Drake May, MHJ, Daniels, Neighbors, McKinstry. Pretty much the top 5 picks are doing the same thing. I mean, for me, that doesn't even move the needle. You can't knock Caleb for doing that and not knock, the top 5 of the draft class. So that's kind of a moot point. I think I covered everything. Let's discuss this. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let's get to 5K subscribers. Let's build this community, and we'll talk soon. I will see you in the comments after this one. So bear down. See you guys.